There we go. So this is just a reminder that this webinar today is going to be recorded, so you'll be able to access it later. You'll also get a copy of the slide deck, and you can always ask questions now, or those of you that are joining us virtually, tap them into the chat and we can answer them as we're going along too. So, alrighty, so when it comes to celebrating, is with others and bringing everyone together is a really great time to see your family, see your friends, bring together people that maybe you don't see all that often, but it's also another really great time to try some new tasty foods, and a great way to have a little bit more of the healthfulness, as well as create an environment what's a little bit easier to be more mindful in our eating at a party, is by going a little bit more plant forward. So that's what we're talking about today, is how can we incorporate a little bit more plants into our snack boards that we're creating today, or really any of our meals that we're having at a party. So we're going to host the plants. So when you're thinking through how can you plan out your meals, so kind of stepping away from the party board or the snack board, but just in general, what are we going to have at the party? Instead of starting with, oh, what's going to be my main dish, and concentrating it on it being like an animal protein, like, oh, am I going to do a smoked turkey? Am I going to do a roasted turkey? Am I going to do prime rib? Like, what am I going to do? Like, that's where you usually typically start. Start instead at the whole foods approach and start with the vegetables first. So taking those typical stars of the show, taking the Bruce Willis, who's typically the star of the show, and demoting him to a co-star, and taking those extras and those typical co-stars, I can't think of one like on top of my head as a real star who's one, but anyway, and promoting them to the star of the show and making those the center of what you start planning first. So maybe you're thinking, okay, I could do a really great stuffed acorn squash, and I could put in some great whole grains like some quinoa and some crispy chickpeas, and then get that kind of like holiday feeling with sage as my herb in there, having that great kind of big piece of the plate. Or maybe you're looking at a vegetable Wellington, where you're getting those same types of flavors of the holidays in a more kind of like traditional party type food that you would have, but leading with vegetables and having mushrooms and maybe some smoky flavor and creating like a bacon type of thing in there. So how can you lead with plants, lead with those whole foods, then bring in those like typical side dishes that are a little bit more of our favorites. So like in my house, it's like we always have to have cheesy potatoes at Christmas. Like we have to, like that's a thing. Like we don't, then like everyone will be up in arms and leave. Bringing in those favorite side dishes, maybe having a crudité and a great snack board like what we're doing today for those people who just kind of want to graze and munch along. And then look at your meal and say, do I need some animal protein? Like, what do I need in my dish? Maybe all I need is just like a turkey breast, and that's all I need because I've got all of this other great stuff that's going to fill people up. So it's a great way to host the plants. It makes it so people can be more mindful of their choices and still get that satisfaction from those delicious flavors as well. So now moving into talking about building our party platter. So in front of you all here today, and then those at home, you received a little handout that kind of goes through this as well. But this goes through kind of what I just talked about, but in more of your platter, your holiday snack board, and how you can build things. So you can start by, you can do these in any different types of order, but looking at the dips that you have on the board. So sometimes a lot of the dips can be really more indulgent in how they're put together. How can you add maybe plants into those things, or add some maybe more lighter ingredients or acids and things like that to really brighten them up and add that flavor without having to have the more indulgent pieces. So for example, could you do like a baba ganoush? Could you do a hummus? Could you make a more creamy ranch, or kind of more traditional dip that you would have with a crudité out of white beans, or silken tofu, something like that, to make a little bit more healthful of a dip. From there, add in your vegetables and fruit. So you can, go to the grocery store and have them do the work for you. Like a lot of our grocery stores have like the shortcut section where they've already broken down the broccoli and cauliflower and carrots and all those different things for you. And you can have those as your fresh vegetable element. But then also remember that vegetables aren't just raw on your platters. They don't have to be. Create additional texture with those vegetables to make them more enticing and more interesting, and you're more likely to grab them. Your guests are more likely to grab them. So maybe you are roasting them and getting kind of that char on them. Maybe you're putting like a little bit of a sauce or a different type of seasoning on them, or blanching them, whatever it may be, in order to create a little bit more texture from those vegetables, or even from your fruits. Then add in some different nuts and seeds. These are going to add protein, some healthy fats. This is what's going to add like kind of that satiation factor to your board, right? Like those are the things that keep us full and make this feel like it's actually more of a meal and keeping you going as a party is going on. And they're also a great way to add texture, so a different type of crunch that goes along with those ingredients. And then garnish with other different snacks and treats. So maybe as you're adding some cheese or honey, like there's different types of flavors of honey that you can add. You can add different candies and chocolates and things like that as kind of garnishing and like making it the kind of rounding out the platter from there. Here's some more kind of concrete examples of where the things fit into each one of these little categories. So like I said, a hummus or a baba ganoush, even guacamole, a white bean dip. I have an example of one of those in my presentation that you all would really enjoy. Vegetables, like I said before, they could be your raw, like carrot sticks or jicama sticks, any of those things. But they could be marinated, or you could do a quick pickle on some of your vegetables, any of those to add different types of flavor to the vegetables. The fruit, you could do dried, you could do fresh, whatever you'd like, or even like dried as in cranberries, or kind of the ones that are a little bit more chewy, like raisins, apricots, those things. But you could also get dried fruit like dehydrated apples or, mangoes or whatever you may like as well. Nuts and seeds, somewhat self-explanatory, but try to pick some things that maybe you don't have all of the time, like chestnuts, or having walnuts that you can break open, or pistachios, like different things like that to add variety to your platter. And then the other snacks, choose some whole grain crackers, pita chips, honey, dark chocolate, all of these things really kind of round out the platter and make it so people have a lot of different choice to build their plate. So a few more tips for you as you're having more of your plant party, is swap out those creamy dips for something that is a little bit more vegetable or plant forward. Like I said, with the white bean dip, silken tofu is also a really great way to create that creaminess of a dip. That would typically be like mayonnaise based. You can do silken tofu and get that same kind of texture. It's more healthful, less fat, less indulgent, and still like really filling and delicious. Add some crunch beyond just doing, chips or crackers. Like I said, the dried fruit is a really great way to do that because you're getting a different type of texture. I've also been known to put veggie straws on my snack boards because they're in my house, and I mean, I have a toddler. So those are going on my board. Like I'm going a little bit different with the type of texture that I have. Or even they make like the harvest snap peas are really great. They're like a little crunchy snack that can go on the board as well. Try to, think of your board in a way you would think of a different type of food. And the what I'm getting at is, can you go and think of it as nachos? So could you go and say, okay, I'm going to have nachos, but I'm going to create it with fruit. So slice up different types of fruit, and then maybe think of like your cheese sauce as like a great like yogurt dipping sauce that goes along with it. Like that's why when people are struggling with like snack boards and things like that, I'm like, how would you build nachos? If you were standing in front of a nacho bar, what all would you put on top of it? Okay, like what are little swaps in order to like build a board, build a plate, because that's all nachos are, is just a snack board, but mounded up together, and kind of recreate that in your own way, because it's not as intimidating as maybe, a board may be. So this is that dip that I was telling you all about. Any of y'all here can scan this QR code, and even y'all at who are joining us virtually, scan this QR code. And this brings you to a really, really delicious white bean dip that has oregano in it as well. So some flavors that people will feel really familiar with. And it's all created with white beans. It's super yummy. I'll also say that budget-wise, this is a whole lot more budget-friendly than if you're maybe wanting to like get into doing your own hummus and buying tahini and like all of these different things. So really, really yummy. Let y'all get it. Awesome. Okay, so now moving on to like away from the plate and kind of more how we feel when we are attending a party and how we can create those mindful choices. So you want to spend the time with your families or your friends and enjoying the parties, enjoying the experience that you have. But if you're wanting to be more mindful and kind of build a plate in a way that that keeps you working towards your goals and how your healthfulness looks to you, you can always go back to the structure of what does my plate look like. So creating a plate that half of it is those fruits and vegetables, going back to what I talked about at the beginning, having all those different fruits and vegetables available make this a whole lot easier, right? You're not going to feel like creating half of your plate is so burdensome when the majority of the options available at your party are plants and coming from those fruits and vegetables. So choose those to fill up half your plate. Do a whole grain or a starchy vegetable like that acorn squash with the quinoa in it to fill out the other quarter. And then have some of that protein as well. It could be, some of the, cured meats that we have today. It could be, the tofu. It could be other plant-based proteins like chickpeas or whatever it may be. That fill up that other little quarter, and then try to aim for healthy fats as much as possible. So getting this balance can keep you working, keep you on that healthfulness path. And then also, always listening to your hunger cues, knowing, am I feeling hungry? Am I feeling satisfied in this meal? Taking the time to pay attention to that and how you're feeling in the meal. Are you feeling rushed? Are you feeling stressed? These principles go beyond just when we're at parties, really being mindful and experiencing the food that you're eating and listening to how you're feeling in that moment is really important, no matter when we're eating. It will bring the enjoyment to you in eating the meal that you created or your friends and family brought to the party, and make the experience really be what it is, and fulfilling for you individually in your body. And then lastly, remember that these celebrations are about, coming together, getting all of the food together and enjoying it all as, as a group. There's a lot of research that says that just the act of dining together, getting a group together, maybe arguably like what we're all doing here, even a virtual way, has a lot of benefit to many different chronic conditions. So take that time to enjoy that, enjoy the people that are around you. It actually helps you in being more mindful as well, as we talked about on the last slide, to be more present and there with the individuals that you're dining with. And then last, as if you are someone who is hosting for the holidays, or if you're someone who just has 1.5 million things to do around the holidays or around a party, remember to think of yourself and take that time to check in with yourself and know if you are overstressed or overwhelmed or overcommitted. If you're looking at your schedule and you have all of these different things on the docket, is there something that you could cross the line through and say, no, we're not able to attend this time, in order for you to really enjoy yourself? Like, those pieces of it are really important as we're going into these seasons to be a little bit more stress-free and enjoy the events that you do choose to go to. That's all that I have. I'll let y'all get to the good part now and dig into the snack boards. Y'all have any questions if anything popped up?
Yes.
Yeah.
One person virtually asked for protein suggestions if you have nut allergies, but still want crunch or texture.
Mm-hmm.
What would you suggest?
I'm a big fan of crispy chickpeas. I think they're so good, and they're so easy to make, especially I do mine in the air fryer, but I mean, an oven still does really well. I've also seen air fryer kidney beans are really good. But you can do, I mean, if you have a nut allergy, like you could do like yogurt bites, like the little yogurt, if you have kids, like yogis, but they're adult yogis. Or another one that I really like for individuals who are wanting that protein and want that crisp are, I said it earlier, and I said wisps. They're like cheese crackers, like either like Parmesan or cheese, like cheddar. Those are fantastic as well. They're good protein and not nut based. Also good for those who are wanting to avoid gluten for like a cracker component. So yeah.
No other questions virtually.
Okay. Great. Awesome. Okay. Well, we're gonna dig in. The last slide is just to thank you for being here. You will get the recording of the presentation, and if you want to check out any of the other webinars that have been presented, you'll be able to do that here. So let's get into the fun stuff.
So let's do it. You guys can start building your platters if you want, and you can use this as a guide, or you can do whatever you want. Because charcuterie is supposed to be fun, and we're supposed to have fun and do whatever we want. So I would recommend keeping things separated, certain things. And we'll start with meats. We have 3 meats on the plate. I'm gonna let my colleague Scott talk about the meats real quick, and then I'm gonna go down the list and tell you what you have on your platters here.
Okay, on your left-hand side, we have the
Pinocchiona.
Finocchiona. I said that like 30 times before this. The Finocchiona, which is basically a fennel sausage. I mean, excuse me, salumi. Yeah. Let's see.
So the red one, this one, the salumi is Rosetta de Leon, which is a French style salumi. It's made in San Francisco by Columbus. Is the name of the brand. And this one, the Finocchiona, is a Tuscan style salumi made in Seattle. Okay, so they're both domestic.
And then you have prosciutto on the right hand side, which is basically the hindquarters of a pig, cured and aged. So it's very salty.
Does anybody not eat pork? Because this is a complete pork platter. Everybody eats pork? Okay, good. So you're all set to go. Also, is there any I was gonna ask this ahead of time, is there any gluten-free? Because we do have gluten-free bread option. If it-
I'd like to try.
Okay, yeah, sure, we can bring some over to you. So the 5 components to this charcuterie plate has meat, first off, which Scott just went over. We have cheese, so we have 3 kinds of cheeses. The rectangle style cheese is manchego, which is from Spain. It's a sheep's milk cheese. The second cheese is the square or the triangles, and that is the Vermont aged cheddar, 2 years, and that is from Vermont. And it's cow's milk. The cheddar is always cow's milk. And then you also have some goat cheese there that's encrusted in fennel pollen. And that's a goat milk cheese. So we have the 3 different milks of cheese. Cows, sheep's, and goat. The other things we have on the plate, we need color and crunch. So we have some cornichons there for some crunch. We have some obviously some crostini, some lavish, some pumpernickel toast. So you got a little crunch there. We also have some pistachio nuts that are candied. We actually have the recipe for that, and they're chili roasted pistachios. So that gives you a little crunch on your plate. Acid's another thing we need in our charcuterie plate. In a minute here, I'm going to go over how to put together the eggplant caponata, which is agrodolce, so it has sweet and sour elements to it. So it has a good amount of acid in it, which is great on either of the toast or lavish that you have. I really enjoy the caponata on that. And then you also have sweetness. So we have plenty of sweetness here. We have the grapes. We have the dried apricots, the dried cherries, and you also have Kalamata olives on there for your brininess to go with your salumis. So I would like the savory stuff together and the sweet stuff with the cheese. That's kind of how I would put mine together. But like, again, it's your board, so you can do whatever you want.
One question.
Yes.
So, someone virtually asked, and for Leslie as well, can you recommend some vegetarian options instead of meat? What would be good substitutes?
Leslie, you want to field that one?
Sure. I mean, I'm a big fan, if you can't tell, in how I presented, of treating vegetables as you would meat. So, for example, like, can you take a carrot, and I've done this before, like on a mandolin and slice it really, really thin, and then use the same spice that you would do if, like, say, so I live in Kansas City, so I'll say, like, we do a lot of barbecue, so I use our barbecue seasoning that I would normally use for, like, if we're doing a pork butt, and I'll put that on the carrot bacon, and roast it in the oven and get that same kind of texture, and that same type of flavor. You can also do it with, like, other, like, more meaty vegetables, like eggplant is a really, really good one to have in place. If you're wanting more of the cheeses, there are some really, really good vegan cheeses that are out there. BioLife is a great brand of has vegan cheeses. But also Baby Bell, you can buy, like, the green one is a vegan Baby Bell. That's for, obviously it's still vegetarian, but for our vegan guests. Did you have any other thoughts?
I think pretty much what you said.
Mhm. Yeah.
Trying to use vegetables in place, or doing that seasoning like a chorizo seasoning or something like
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
on vegetables.
Well, another cool
Really?
thing you can do with the vegetables too, which you could take, it could be like a watermelon radish, it could be carrots, it could be beets, and you shave them really thin on a mandolin, throw them in a ice water bath, which is just ice and water, and that crisps them up really, really firm. So it's almost like a chip.
Yeah.
At that point.
I think the other one I was thinking of is it's like a carrot, like that you would traditionally do with salmon,
Oh, lox.
like a lox,
Yeah.
like carrot lox.
Yeah.
So you're just like doing the mandolin and then doing like a brine on the carrots.
Right,
Super
right,
easy.
yeah.
You don't even have
Almost
to
like a
turn the
pickle,
oven on.
yeah.
Yeah.
You can put everything spice on that, everybody
Yeah,
likes that.
it's
so
really good.
that always works with those flavors.
Thank you. Carry on.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and make the caponata. So basically the recipe, I did all the cooking part of it. Obviously, we don't have anything to cook with here. But the cooking part of it's done. So the onions, the tomatoes, the vinegar, the sugar, the salt, the black pepper, the tomatoes are all in this mixture right here. So I'll dump that in there. And then the eggplants are cooked also. I'll put a little bit of these Castelventrana olives. Does anybody know what a Castelventrana olive is? No? It's like one of my favorite olives in the whole world. So I actually, you know what? I'm gonna put this. I'll put this in
Try it.
and these go great in this because of the sweet and the sour. The brininess of the olive is wonderful. And then capers, everybody likes capers. Well, maybe not. And then oregano, fresh oregano.
So is this something you could make ahead of time? I know, like, we're talking about parties and like how you,
This will hold,
Plan,
yeah, this
yeah.
is something you can make like, and it could hold for a week. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, it's super, it's got a lot of acid in it. so,
Yeah.
With the tomatoes and the red wine vinegar.
Can you do that olives one more time?
Castelventrano.
Spell that.
Castelventrano. If I spelled that right, you get $100.
Yeah, I think it's good when you have recipes that you can make ahead of time. Going back to like the stress relief of trying just be as stress-free as you can around party planning.
Right.
The less that you can do the day of, the best. Like, I can't tell you how many parties that I overstressed myself and like wasn't even able to like get myself ready. Like I'm still in my pajamas when people are coming over to my house. So having stuff ahead is a great idea. Is there some, maybe our guests online, do they want to let us know what do you typically put on your snack boards? If you, or is there any like fun things that you've ever put on a snack board?
We did have someone mention the crispy chickpeas.
Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah.
their recommendation
Yeah.
for the crunchy alternative.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
Yeah.
What comes in now.
Yeah. Well, and if you don't want to, depending on how many people you're having at your party, if you want to have a lot of variety, but you don't want to buy like a bunch of bags of things, you can go to a lot of the bulk stores, so like Sprouts or like Whole Foods or whomever, that has a lot of these bulk snack mixes and things. And you don't have to commit to like an entire bag of cashews or whatever it may be, and buy them by the pound, just little bits of here and there. It's a lot better. Or even salad bars are starting to come back now. Shopping a salad bar and having the deli department at your local grocery store having done a lot of the work for you is a great way to be stress-free. And like, if you're not someone who really likes to be in the kitchen and cutting and doing all these different things, let them do that work for you.
Does anybody have any questions?
How are the snack boards looking?
Yeah.
They're tasting good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that the best part about cooking, is that it is the tasting along the way?
I mean, what are a couple things that you could think that you wouldn't want on a charcuterie board? Anybody?
Water.
Water,
Sardines.
Stinky cheeses,
yeah.
no good. Fruits that go brown, no good. Spicy foods, I mean, we got a little spice in the pistachios, but like something really spicy would kind of ruin the palate on that. So you don't really want to have those. Veggies, I mean, I'm not gonna say that because Leslie's here, so. The jams and stuff like that, obviously you want on there. And so, and then the last thing, boring and bland food. So you want everything to pop on the dish, so
Even your vegetables.
even your veg.
What goes into the process of organizing and presenting your spread on the board that you might be having?
Scott, you want to feel that one?
Well, contrast is a big one. You know, you want to have all sorts of different colors to help it pop. I like to have height to it, so it's just not all just kind of flat and boring looking. And then it's really just placement too of all the ingredients too. So that's what I do.
What is that on the upper right of your, is that jicama?
Upper right.
Oh, the
With
log.
The goat cheese.
This?
That, what is that?
That's the goat cheese.
Oh. look like a jicama.
So that, you guys have like miniature ones?
When you're selecting your, like, the different cheeses and things like that, what are some cheeses, like, if you just want something that is probably a crowd pleaser for everyone, what are the types of cheeses you look for?
Brie.
Okay,
I think I find that brie is everybody likes brie. I'm gonna say Parmesan Reggiano, but I may be wrong in that. But I think most people like Parmesan. You stick with cow milk cheese, and people are a little bit more, unless they have allergies, but they're a little bit more. I don't know. They're received better. It
so like
seems to be
cheddars or
cheddar. Yeah.
Gouda, like those.
I personally have like, there's so many cheeses I like, mostly Italian cheese that I like to put on boards, but yeah, I mean, you go to the grocery store and there's so many options.
There are.
So, I think you stick with more mild cheeses, because I think people like mild, more mild flavors, especially with the charcuterie board. I think you would like to have more mild type flavors, so.
When you go to slice all these different things and kind of prepare them, do you have any suggestions? So like, should you buy your salami already sliced and get those packages, or should you do it on your own? Or same way with the cheese,
I
should you
think
do
if
it on
you
your
have the
own?
means to slice at your home,
Mhm.
I would much rather do that. It's much fresher. The flavors come through much better than once they sit and kind of get dry.
Sure,
So,
Yeah, I think it's
and
a cool
yeah,
presentation.
so I mean, I think, but if you have the means, not most people don't have slicers at home.
right,
So luckily, most grocery stores slice meat.
yeah, they do, yeah.
What's the etiquette of like serving? Like, do you, with charcuterie boards, do you just use your hands? Do you do like different things? Like,
That's kind of the thing. So maybe you kind of want to use your hands to place things, they can look pretty nice. You can use tweezers, but you might be doing that all day
when
long.
people are mixing up, like if you're serving for masses, what do you usually do?
We usually use this like.
Little powder, yeah. I used to think sometimes the toothpicks like really too
Yeah,
big.
or yeah.
And you have it
such
little
From online. You recommend to serve the room temperature or chilled, or does it depend on the ingredients?
Well, yes, it does depend on the ingredients, but everything really should be room temperature. I mean, within reason, like you don't want it out for 5 hours or something like that, but I think especially with cheeses and also dried cured meats, you want them out.
When do you turn
You
it
let it chill on this. Like I said, certain things you might want to chill. But most of what's here, like the caponata can definitely be room temperature, it's like, it's perfect. Once it's chilled, you just don't get all the flavors.
I guess we could talk about that, it's like the safety part of it.
Yes.
How long should you leave your snack board out at your party? And should you save the leftovers?
Depending on how good the cheese is.
Yeah. If you have leftovers.
You probably, if you have it out more than, I would say 2 or 3 hours. Not that it's gonna go bad, it's time, it's just, it's been in the freezer so long,
Yeah, right.
so.
What is the suggestion on how much of each item to put on a platter, or even to maybe have like options reserved for each person? If you're thinking extended family or a larger gathering.
So I think the stars of the plate, you should probably go a little bit heavier portions on. You know, the cheeses and the meats and stuff like that. And then all the accoutrements, you know, you can kind of scale those back a little to what, you know, what you think people are gonna use. Always leftovers on meat platters, always gonna be leftovers unless you make it really small. But yeah, no, I don't think, I think that it just depends on what you're, you know. Like I said, I think the meats and the cheese should be the stars of the charcuterie plate and be the higher amount or more amount of.
Did you hear that, Chef? I love your caponata.
Eggplant caponata. Sicilian dish, yeah. Any questions? We'll open it up now to questions if you have any.
What was this cheese roll in again? Like.
Fennel pollen. So it's the pollen from the fennel flower.
And did you buy it that way, or is it just cream cheese roll?
I rolled the goat cheese in it, yes. Yeah.
Cream cheese, oh.
It's kind of like goat, it's kind of like cream cheese, a little tangy cream cheese.
What are the first two cheeses again? There's one on white cheddar.
The one that was in the rectangle shape is manchego, and the triangle ones are cheddar aged. We're right on time.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you all for
Thank
coming
you,
here
everyone.
and
Yeah.
for everyone for taking part in our virtual plus in person.
Yeah. It is. I have some saran wrap back here, if anybody wants saran wrap. Oh, thank you.
Before you do, if anyone is okay with taking some photos, for us to share. Yeah.
It has a beautiful. Take a picture. Yeah, there's one.
Okay.
Actually, what makes them.
I'm gonna take a picture. Like maybe we'll do more.